When a nation can boast of a history that's as old as the pyramids and of traditions that are as deep-rooted as the eternal Nile, 6 years in the life of such a nation are but a short passing phase. The Egyptians emerged from the Six-Day War a defeated people, their lands overrun and occupied by a tenacious enemy. For 6 years, they endured humility, knowing from day to day that the ordeal could not last forever. Someday, somehow, the stigma had to be removed. Unbeknown, except to a handful of leaders, the decision was taken and a date was set for the showdown. Dawn broke out on Saturday, October 6, 1973, on a handful of commando troops, vigorously training for the task ahead of them, that same day. In the operations room of the field command, last-minute briefing was taking place. The plan called for perfect coordination between all branches of the armed forces. Full alert by the aerial defenses. Radar stations scan the airspace over the battlefield. Rockets stand poised, ready to provide air cover and to repel any counterattack. Men of the armored divisions get their last-minute instructions. The element of surprise was the keystone of the whole operation. For months, these pontoon-carrying trucks were dispatched to all parts of the country on a mass decoy maneuver intended to confuse the enemy. Each time over a long period, a few pontoon trucks would slip unobtrusively into hiding behind the high embankment, shielding the Egyptian positions along the canal. These dinghies will ferry the first batches of men across the canal. The silent service patrolling Egypt's long coasts along the Mediterranean, the Gulf of Suez, and the Red Sea. Theirs was perhaps the greatest of tests. The Israeli Air Force was reputed to be the strongest in the Middle East. How will the Egyptian Air Force fare against an enemy numerically superior and better equipped? Over 1,000 pieces of artillery along the entire front waiting for the order, fire. All along the 100-mile-long front, last-minute checking and rechecking are being made by field commanders, while a close watch is being kept on enemy movement. As 0 hour draws close, the Supreme Commander of the Egyptian Armed Forces, President Sadat, takes up his post in the main operations room. All eyes are now to the east. Quietly, the net is closing in as all units, perfectly camouflaged, edge slowly towards the canal. 0 hour, and all hell was let loose. Under a heavy artillery barrage, advanced units of the storm troops paddled energetically across the canal in order to paralyze enemy tanks and defenses. In the first minute of softening up bombardment, 10,500 shells were fired at the rate of 175 shells per second. Over the top, and the first waves of infantrymen proceed to cross under a hail of fire. Having scaled the 40-meter-high enemy embankment, they raised Egypt's colors on Sinai. Caught by complete surprise, the Israeli defenders were stunned. They were no match for the Egyptian attackers, who stormed and captured their fortifications. One Israeli strong point after another fell. The Egyptians continued to pour in more troops across the canal. Wave after wave they came. In 6 hours, they were in full control, having established dozens of firm bridgeheads and fanned out to overrun the whole of the Bar-Lev Line. The successful crossing of the canal was attributed largely to the bravery and doggedness of the commanding officers, who were with their men at every minute of the crossing. The part played by the engineering corps was perhaps one of the most outstanding. Every technique was used to blast openings through the embankment. The first passage was opened in less than an hour. Other engineering units, meanwhile, were getting the pontoon bridges ready. Months and months of hard training and perfecting new techniques are now showing their results. This, at last, is the real thing. On it depends the success of the crossing. bridge is laid. Heavy tanks roll across the water barrier under full aerial cover. Desperately, the Israelis tried to stem the flow of reinforcements, but in vain. The canal crossing was no picnic by any means, nor was it expected to be so. But the battle plan had been masterfully worked out, a feat of military strategy. Nothing was left to chance. As the Israelis intensify their raids on the bridgeheads, they are met with a wall of rocket fire. Tanks continue to roll eastwards. In a few days, 2 complete Egyptian armies were solidly entrenched along the entire eastern bank. Waves of Israeli counterattacks were beaten back. In the days to follow, the Sinai battlefield was to witness fierce tank battles of such magnitude unparalleled in history. Both sides were throwing in all they had. town of Qantara East, the Israelis met with one of their worst defeats. The local residents took up arms in street-to-street fighting as the advanced Egyptian forces were storming the outskirts. By the evening of the second day of the war, Qantara East was recaptured. Israel's myth of invincibility was once and for all shattered. Their impregnable Bar-Lev Line was overrun in hours. Their tanks and air force were all but wiped out. And their soldiers presented a pathetic sight after they surrendered in their hundreds. Flags of the victorious Egyptian forces fluttered over all parts of liberated Sinai. Here, on the battlefield of Sinai, Egyptian military honor was vindicated. For a long time to come, military academicians will regard the October War as an outstanding achievement.